Yes, Virgo. We're totally starting with Virgo today. That's the way to start a day. Totally. Um, so, hello. Greetings and welcome to my dear Virgos out there. This is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun. Tarot of the Twin Sun is a functional division within the Order of the Twin Sun. Please take only what you will. This is uh, a prognostication, really. We're very close to March already, and I'm sorry for the delay. This is mutable, a mutable house, okay? This is the sixth house, and this is the last house before the separation from the self into the energy of Libra. Now, the interesting thing about Virgo is that it is charged on a karmic level to flow into the auspices of Venus, okay? So when Mercury meets Venus, its ambiguity is accentuated. Let me say that again. When Mercury hits Venus, its ambiguity is accentuated. And it is elevated. It crystallizes into the abstract, let's say, wherein the sort of oscillations of Virgo, where you're constantly sort of trying to understand the unknown. The secrets of Virgo actually tied to priesthood. Priesthood is all about hermeneutics, exegesis, the sort of word, and trying to understand the word in its fleshy concept, okay, its manifestations. This is a sort of Christological approach towards priesthood. At the same time, one of the first priestly orders was the Order of Melchizedek, which is in ancient times, before Christ, I believe. Could be after Christ, maybe 300 AD. That's when priests, in terms of the Western mystical tradition, that is Judaic primarily, that's where the first priests came. Anyways, so when you think of priesthood, you think of habit, you think of the hermit, you think of the eremitic, essentially the path of the hermit. The path of the hermit is concentrated, it's fixated on using the inner light to shine on the material world that is veiled. Okay, it's veiled by darkness. And darkness is essentially the absence of light, but light is never truly absent, it's merely absorbed. Let me say that again. Light is never truly absent, it's merely absorbed. So if you have a shadow, let's say, the only way to have that shadow is if your body is absorbing light. This has been one of my more recent contemplations, okay? And Virgo is all about contemplation. And Mercury is all about, essentially, the importation of messages from the infinite. It's the messenger of the gods, okay? Now, the interesting thing is that with the sixth axis, the sixth house, the axis of the 6 and 12 spins. And this is the axis of mutability from earth to water. And because there's the mutable aspect of it, these two interrelate. There's a tidal influence, not by the moon, but it's just metaphorical. There's a sort of interplay that is tied to, essentially, the gross realization of that which is in the 12th house, the mystical, okay? So it's truly a fascinating axis, and I could go on. Primarily, the people that you draw in within this axis are here as if it's the infinite, the mystical, trying to understand the mystical as above, so below. These people represent, essentially, the infinite in a way. They're abstract, they're distorted, they're not really there. At the same time, there's something about them that has a tendency for self-destruction. You try to ground them with some form of ritual, small acts of repetition, let's call it, It's kind of where the mundane meets the super mundane. But then this pleases the super mundane. It pleases the realm of the celestial, and that's something to perhaps keep in mind. Today, let's get grounded. Today, let's work on three readings. The first reading is a karmic reading. Second reading is a spread for an incident within that karma. Okay, and then we're going into a 9-card spread known as the Great Mirror, which is what you're all here for. If you're new, I do welcome you to the channel. Apologies for the slow introduction, but we're here. Let's go ahead and get started. Thank you and welcome back. This is for Virgo, March 2023. Okay, interesting. Okay, this is a very confident reading so far. Okay. Okay, complex. Let's see. The karma for this month is to essentially contain your emotions, to contain your capacity for the expressive, to contain your intuition. Your higher intelligence is there, but it is hidden. It is a hidden sword behind the king's head. Now, when the sword is behind or around the king's head, what first comes to mind to me is the sword of Damocles, okay? Now, Damocles essentially was a king, and he's on his throne, and the sword is always weighing over the head. There's the expression, the sword of Damocles weighs over the head in Shakespearean terms, but that usually means some form of impending doom or like heavy the crown sort of thing. So essentially it means that perhaps you're thinking too much about the wrong thing when it comes to trying to crystallize, trying to reject. I mean, this is all rooting from a realm of being sort of detached, okay? Being detached. What it's leading the king to do is essentially to pull away. This is like, there's the Buddha before he becomes an enlightened master after thousands of years of meditation. He essentially, I could be exaggerating, it's not 1,000 years, but or not thousands, but yeah, but basically like he's sitting, meditating, watching the world go by. Before that, he's actually a king, and he is, he's hidden from the world of suffering in his kingdom until he finally encounters it. Like all the servants that were getting sick were cast out of his walls, his kingdom, before he would see it. And his dad actually did this. Like his dad did not want the Buddha to see the suffering, otherwise he knew that he would not be king afterwards, something like this. So he was a very protected king. Perhaps there's something about this story arc that speaks about a realm of experience where something is not experienced, okay? And then you use that lack mentality to do something, okay? The fours are very strong here in terms of the Four of Rods that comes from the 9 here, and the possibility for structures to be holding you back in some sort of way. What I see here is an element of stasis and then a point of manifestation coming in the month of March. This has to do primarily with you being in true form, being stable, and working in a place of lack, in a place where you feel like you're boxed in, okay? Now, because the sword of Damocles is here, because there's a feeling of the pressure, and also because there's a lot of intuitive force in this reading, I think you've developed quite enough for some time in terms of hibernation, in terms of like trying to, excuse me, access something within your own parameters. And now it is perhaps time to make a change. So the 4s come in strong, the 7s are strong as well, and 7's usually indicative of a number of things. 7 horses in the chariots of Krishna. There's 7s also. It has to do essentially with the next step after Virgo in the 7th house through Libra. So there's the loss of the self, there's relationships primarily. So it could be that you're being influenced to behave coldly towards certain relationships. Yet, I do feel like you're going to meet someone in particular this month that will inspire you, okay? That will bring you a sense of vision. They will bring a sense of vision. Now let's look further into this reading because it's pretty obscure. Okay, so primarily this has to do with recovery. There's a lot of it. There may be a point where you feel a sense of rest after a lot of nonsense. At the same time, there's an ability to wake up, to get out of a state of being, to wake up and to do something. This has to do with essentially letting go of pain, letting go of a way of thinking. In the month of March, there's also an ability to become cold, exacting, truthful to yourself, especially when it comes to a past lineage of sorts. When it comes to especially the paths of love, the sort of randomness of certain thoughts, these are all being pushed aside. And a sense of clarity, a lightness is coming, at least on an incidental level. This is what the king is concerned with. At the same time, it pushes you to the 4 of Swords. The 3 of Swords pushes you to the 4 of Swords. It also potentially can go to the 2 of Swords in reverse. Now, what I'm seeing here is essentially a movement, a new idea, a concept that is being generated. It's something that you're hiding from others, that you've been working on for some time, a project, okay, a relationship even. One of these, if you can do this, and execute it without others knowing, that would be quite beneficial for you, because I think you are at a key point of bringing forward a great deal of, I would call it stability, visions of stability, manifesting stability, big time for this month. Now, excuse me, when it comes to advice, embrace newness. Try to be inspired. Don't really think about much. I think it's time for action in the month of March. Okay? So we're going now into the Great Mirror, which is a more relevant, grounded spread. At the same time, with a touch of esoteric flair, we're going to be looking at 9 cards plus 2 for the bridge, and we'll be looking at Virgo's relationship with another person in terms of a karmic level, influences psychological, as well as soul level influences between you two, conscious influences. And these may or not be true for you in particular, but please be open. Also use your discernment. Try not to project too much onto the reading. And yeah, I'll do my best to be clear in terms of channeling for this. But this is for Virgo in the month of March 2023, for a situation with a particular other through the Great Mirror. Okay. You may see this person as something of a hard worker. They could also be a burden. There's something about them that goes through cycles of contempt against the world. So there's something about them that works hard, perhaps too hard, and they carry this burden. They perhaps project it onto you. Whether or not this is their fault, it affects you, and it forces you to look elsewhere, to look to your friends, and to also try to understand your own mystery when it comes to your own expression of what you really need, which is actually to give. To give. This person also wants to give to you, but the way they give to you, it sort of puts you off in terms of trying to understand their actions, their motivations. Perhaps you don't even understand your own actions when it comes to this affair, if it is a type of affair that would be, worth noting. There's something about you that is also very much a hard worker when it comes to how they perceive you. I think deep down they know this, but it also is in a path of self-perfection, self-reflection. I think in terms of the context of this experience that you're having with this person, there is a connection that has to do with the idea of giving and also forgiving, how to bring the sense of the dragon's head, the North Node, and to infuse that with your labors, with your efforts. When this occurs, there certainly is a lot you can download from lesser planets like Mercury and the Moon, lesser celestial bodies. At the same time, we have the card of marriage here, the lovers, strongly indicated here, and the Hierophant is here. Hierophant, the lovers. That is something that you may be trying to manifest on a subconscious level. Doesn't mean you're totally aware of it, but it's there. We have also force majeure. Now, when these two cards come up like this, on the subconscious realm, the realm of willpower even, let's see if you can see that. It's not the best of light, Okay, just like that. Now, when these two cards coexist on the magical realm of the reading, I see here something very striking, considering it's the fallen angel on one side, on the right side. Lucifer, the devil, is here, but the fallen angel is in reverse here. And the Hierophant is also here. We have two agents of the celestial sort of division. And with this, there is a possibility of the lovers also emancipating in some sort of way here. So they're tied in a contract within the force majeure, okay, and there's a possibility of emancipation. The idea of free love is something that is I've been channeling that for some time now, personally on a personal level, but it's also been impacting my own idea of what's going on in terms of how love is transacted these days. So-called love is transacted these days, and there's something about what is here that shows me that you are dealing with someone who's very inspired to find something. I think you influence this person a great deal in terms of providing. Excuse me. Providing an example to go ahead and do what it is they need to do. The thing is that there's something about the way you offer, let's say, love, that is intended to be another appendage, another arm, another sort of body part to do what it is in a small way to have an effect on the situation. Okay, if you are in this in terms of like trying to do that, you will be successful. At the same time, what I see here is someone who is a self-generator. There's something about them that is very empowered. It empowers you. It empowers them to do what it is that they need to do. The thing is that sometimes they burn too brightly. Yes, Ace of Rods. The rod sequence is coming in very, very strong here. Okay, interesting. Interesting. This has to do with just a lot of passions. Whatever you're dealing with here, passions are being thrown around like wildfire. The important thing is not to get burned from that. But I think ultimately, to be honest, there's something about that burn that occurs here. It's because of the 10 sequence that this person is dealing with here, the 10 of Rods as well as the 10 of Swords that brings the reading together through the mirror. So we have a lot of passions. We have a choice that a king makes. Okay, and what does a king do? What's his primary function? To rule? Not really. Often kings can be puppets for other powers these days. But in a classical sense, kings were intended to be servants. The greatest king often had to bend over to pick up the sword. And often some of the greatest kings were martyred or sacrificed. What does the King of Rod tell us then? King of Rod is essentially someone who burns too brightly and is brought down eventually. All fire burns out, and once that fire is gone, who's to say he still has his agency? The thing is that Virgo is tied to the sacred fire through the Vestal Virgins, rather, and they were servants. The Vestal Virgins were young, beautiful women, essentially, that kept the sacred fire of the pomerium of ancient Rome going. That was their job. So all this officious history aside, basically I do see here something about a burn that is coming, and you could bring that fire and revamp this generator type person. They're a generator. Their dynamo is quite strong, but passions burn out quickly, much like ideals with the changing times. So this person wants to find stability. They want to find a ground. They want to find a place where, after the fallen state of the devil card, there needs to be a place to touch down. Okay, once they do this, they're going to hit they're going to hit the ground moving. Excuse me, and from what I see in the cards, it's going to be on something other than this situation. They're gonna move. So watch watch for that, my dear Virgo. Someone's going to get burned here. And it's important for you to note where and why you do the things you do when it comes to the expectations of camaraderie, of love, of sharing, of community. I think you are from a school of class, okay, and you have to maintain your word, and also really listen to that inner voice that can understand your own motivations, okay. Yeah, because the one thing that's holding you back from this situation is most definitely fear or change. And if this person is going to change regardless, if they're also looking to be free, this is possibly something that that needs to be considered. Okay. So, anyways, this is Ron from Tarot of the Twin Sun signing out. I do thank you for your time. Thank you. Bye bye.